So I'm going to start with a video. Some of you have probably seen this, and this makes me laugh because it kind of sums up a lot of, for me, where we're currently at.
This is my associate, Bob Porter.
Hi, Bob. Bob?
Go ahead and grab a seat and join us for a minute. You see, what we're actually trying to do here is we're trying to get a feel for how people spend their day at work. So, if you would you walk us through a typical day for you?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I generally come in at least 15 minutes late. I use the side door, that way Lumberg can't see me. And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour.
Space out?
Yeah, I just stare at my desk. But it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably another hour after lunch too. I'd say in a given week, I probably only do about 15 minutes of real, actual work.
Peter, would you be a good sport and indulge us and just tell us a little more?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you something about TPS reports. The thing is, Bob, it's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care.
Don't care?
It's a problem of motivation, all right? Now, if I work my ass off and Initech ships a few extra units, I don't see another dime. So where's the motivation? And here's something else, Bob. I have 8 different bosses right now.
I beg your pardon?
8 bosses. 8, Bob. So that means that when I make a mistake, I have 8 different people coming by to tell me about it. That's my only real motivation, is not to be hassled. That and fear of losing my job, but you know, Bob, that'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
Would you bear with me for just a second, please?
Okay.
What if, and believe me, this is so hypothetical, but what if you were offered some kind of a stock option equity sharing program? Would that do anything for you?
I don't know, I guess. Listen, I'm gonna go. It's been really nice talking to both of you guys.
Absolutely. The pleasure's all on this side of the table, trust me.
Good luck with your layoffs, all right? I hope your firings go really well.
Excellent. Great. Wow. Slide down.
I like this format of inspiration sandwich. Now, honestly, how many people have felt like that? Either here or somewhere else? Be honest. I'm too you know, so I remember my first gig back in 2001. It was an agency just off Angel. You know, back then, when you said you worked in new media, you might as well have said you was a wizard, because you were fucking, you know what I mean? It was just like, you were the bee's knees. People were just like, you're the guys making the future. So I was at this agency, it was me, 3 other people, and I was freelancing for the first year, and I was getting paid insane amounts of money to do crazy things, like make 5 meg gifts for BT for like £300 a day. I mean, that's crazy. So I was doing this and I was working, and this agency then offered me a job, which I kindly accepted. And when I took that job, the culture, well, when we say the word culture, just the environment and the people that I was working with was just electric. And what that did was, it kind of binded us together. And we were small, you know, and I remember come 5 o'clock, the stereo would go louder, the beer would come out, the odd Bob Marley reefer would suddenly appear out of nowhere, and it would be through the night. And we did it because we loved it. But then, and I remember it, the bottom fell out, and those who were working in there, the bottom fell out quickly. And all of us started taking pay cuts. And we started taking pay cuts to a point where we could barely afford to live ourselves. But you know what? We didn't give up. We carried on with a company because we believed, and we all came together and we thought like, do you know what? We could all do a runner now and go and work somewhere else. But we just thought, you know what? We've got this thing and it's great. So we're going to ride it. And we did. one of the owners actually had a nervous breakdown, which is probably not a good story. But we took it as far as we could take it because we believed in the people we worked with and we believed in what we were doing. And our office was a shithole. It was like, you had broken bikes in the doorways, but we didn't care because when we came there and what we came to do, we loved what we did and we kept on doing it. So, you know, that was kind of back then. And for me, what I think happens is there's a kind of, we're almost like sponges. Each job we take kind of sets us up as we kind of go through this, you know, this story. And there's, you know, big agencies versus small agencies. We've all kind of worked at both. And what I found with large agencies, it's easier to drift off into, I'm going to say, a bit of what we have here. Because you get to a point where kind of you're so big that you can kind of almost just drift between stuff. There's no real contact with anyone. I mean, like even here, I noticed that I watch groups of people, and it's kind of like tech guys go that way for lunch, uni guys all in here, you know, and then you do your thing, and then PMs do their thing. And for me, and I've been watching this over the 3 months I've been here, and I'm just like, oh, why doesn't everyone go to the pub together? Why doesn't everyone do things? Why isn't there anything happening? And I have to admit, the uni guys, and I see it, are much more, is it an age thing? I don't know. They're more inclined to want to do stuff together. But within Syzygy, I've just noticed that there just seems to be, is it because we're at a point where we're big enough that you kind of just like, has it, you know, that everyone just drifts off? No one's interested in what the other person's doing? I mean, some of you speak to me, someone speaks to me. I mean, some of you guys have been there.
Have you been to the pub on Friday?
What pub? I've never been invited to a pub
there
on
you go.
Friday.
That's mixed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We used to have a nice bit of kitchen area above the tables.
Yeah.
Until our massive expansion.
And do you think that's responsible for some of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit of an first, right?
But I think it is a general cultural thing because half of the agency is MTCs, so it's not about. There is other, we can use other areas for other cultural points. It's not purely. I mean, the kitchen doesn't help. But
I mean, because when I say culture, you know, people say culture or no culture. Everywhere has a culture. It just means that maybe your culture is crap. You know, that's just you know, that's the thing. You know, everywhere has culture, but it's dependent. It's what kind of culture you're encouraging and what kind of culture, you know, you want to kind of be the voice of your agency. We're a creative agency. I don't think it feels like a creative agency. It feels like an agency that people come to do stuff, then to go home.
What makes it a creative agency?
Well, that's what I mean.
What makes an agency feel like a creative agency? What are they,
See,
what
for
are
me,
the
I think creative, if we're a creative agency, we know that the output of what we do should be creative. And I feel that everyone from PMs to client services to finance sounds, I don't know, maybe I live in La La Land, but should want to inspire creative and work within their remit to kind of encourage creative. I mean, there's always, and we, you know, everyone knows the time story. Designers think that PMs just care about getting work off their desk. Client services think that, you know, we all know the stories. And you know, how does it feel here? Do you guys feel like it's this high? Do you think it's an equal footing? Do you think everyone's on the same plane, or do you feel like, oh, you know, I'm looked down on, you know, because I'm going to drop you in it? It's just like I'm bored out of my head.
But yeah, but you still haven't said what makes an agency feel creative. What would it look like? What would people be saying? What would people be doing?
For me, what makes a creative agency is the want to do creative things from everyone. To be proud, everyone's, I don't know, have you ever worked in somewhere where even if you're not directly involved with it, you when you go home, you want to talk about it? You know, it's like, oh, we're working on something really cool. We're doing this thing. It's amazing. You know, it feels like the energy is, you know, it's catches.
I can tell you from a unique perspective that it's something we do struggle with, is the transparency. So you get siloed into different channels
Yeah.
and different job titles and everything else. And so what we're doing at the moment is we're testing seven or eight different tools that are objective setting. And so from the MD down to the intern, you'll be able to see what their objectives are, and that will hopefully give a bit more transparency. Because you can see people working really hard, but you have no idea what they're working on.
Yes.
So that's the problem, is that everyone thinks they're working hard and everything else, but no one knows what the other person is working on or how far they are off their goal or whatever it is. And so we're trying to get that better transparency, so there's not that sort of glass ceiling where you can't see what's going on.
Because that's when you're in the smaller agencies, because you're in everyone's pockets. It's that the transparency you kind of know because you're probably across everything. And there's what the guy next to you is doing, and you work, and except you work in smaller teams, and you're probably working on less projects than you.
Yeah. So as you grow,
that
those levels appear, and then you just don't mix because you've got other commitments and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's a problem across the agencies, I think, and it's like, how do you open that transparency up?
I mean, you guys. Any thoughts? I mean, and it's for me, and this is what I said, because I've done this, and this is kind of, for me, it's just, I want to know what everyone thinks, and then is there,
So last year we had, sorry, Will.
I was going to say what you were going to say.
So last year we had an all-agency training day, where we all discussed our pain points and things like that, and two of the main pain points were that everyone wants to be upskilled, and also that they feel like we're a production agency. So those are the two things that were discussed. This was last summer, and it hasn't changed. So I think that has something to do with the atmosphere.
That's exactly what I was just about to mention. And the feeling that we had was that I think we were meant to be doing a thing on Agile, and it turned out to be this whole other thing where we were giving our feedback in the agency, which is fine. It's not what they wanted. But then it also feels that the feedback was dismissed.
I agree, and we also, just before Christmas, 3 of us were commissioned to look at the culture in Syzygy, the building, innovation, what we can do about that. We wrote a massive great, we spent ages doing it, but a massive great report, that's gone nowhere. I was complaining about the lack of agility in the thing, so someone asked me to write a report on why I think Agile isn't working at Syzygy. That's vanished into nothing. There's an acknowledgement, I think, that the agency needs to change, but nothing's being done about it. Everything just seems to vanish into nowhere. It feels, from my point of view at least.
It feels nobody's making any decision.
Yeah, no one seems to have the on high. There's no one with the vision to really drive this thing through, the kind of charisma and the thing to pull the agency behind them and get things moving. It feels. Present company obviously accepted, but it's.
Well, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear about lots of stuff happening. Oh, this was said in the management meeting. That was said in the management meeting. Oh, this is happening. That's happening. And I'm always hearing this information like
third party.
Yeah. And you just feel like you don't know what's going on. You're not included in any of the processes. And you just become very isolated. Sort of in your own sort of world. And I think somebody said that they feel like the IT department is the only department that really gels well together. And
Sorry.
No, it's not my opinion. It's not my opinion. I didn't see it that way. But then I started noticing there are a lot of other departments where even departments internally they just don't hang out with each other.
I think that's the end. They're quite quick.
I think UX does.
We don't get to have, I mean, we're very, we would have to work in silos during the day because we were all managing different streams, which is why we have to work, that's why we have to communicate. But we're also, it's a smallish team, we're all sat at one table, so it does make it easier. And we go to lunch every Friday together, and that's, it's compulsory.
Because then you get into a term like compulsive culture, where agency, where they set things and they make you do them, and then that's even worse because you feel like you've been forced to attend something you don't want to attend. But if you're not, then you're not part of you're not a team player. So for me, just in the time, I won't name the agency, but they kind of used to do compulsory Friday drinking. you know, and it was just like, oh, you have to be there. You know, you have to be there. Because, you know, their idea was that was how you would build culture within the agency. You know, and for me, I feel that, I mean, we're trying now with things like Project Enterprise, which is this idea of innovation, and then trying to, for me, it's getting people inspired by the work that we could potentially be doing to get in front of clients that will, in essence, you know, make people want to be a part of it. It's like what, and then that comes back to the point of transparency as well. It's knowing what's happening within the agency, and then, you know,
we've also put in tiny polls. Have you heard of tiny polls? Which is like this anonymous sort of interface. So you get an email each week, and it says, how likely would you recommend the agency to someone else? You know, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And then you can have a rank, or you can pass on praise. And so the ranks come through, and the management team select them all together, and then they feed them back. Because I think that's one of the problems is you've organised this session, but how does everyone else, you know, Will's stuck in his little world, how does he express that? Because, you know, day to day, you just got to hit those deadlines, you know what I mean? So it's being able to make those channels available for everyone at every level to be able to have that communication from the top to the bottom.
We know what we think.
Yeah. and that also is a problem, is that you have a silent majority, right? Is you get a couple of loud people in the room, and they will dominate, and then that will become the culture. Whereas some people might not want to go drinking, or they might not want to do paintballing, or whatever it is. So it's hard. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard thing to do.
And the thing is, you know, as we kind of move through our careers as well, it's the things that we take with us as we go to the next place. Because then generally what happens is, oh, this place is shit, so I'm going to find somewhere else to go. But what it is you're essentially just taking that baggage with you to another agency, and you're going to turn up somewhere, and you're going to think, oh, it's great, and then all of a sudden, the fact, you know, it's the same thing, just different name over the door. I mean, I came to that realisation, you know, about 10 years ago. You know, you can go to the big agencies or the small agencies, but what really matters is what you bring when you come, you know, because at the end of the day, what happens is you're just going to find the big agencies are just filled with everyone who's kind of worked their way with this misery to them. And then, you know, you just
take it the other way though.
Well, this is it. So,
for example, one place I worked, that place where I worked, we had it before, we used to have the CEO was a bit of an entrepreneurial type. We would have like all agency town hall meetings on a regular basis, where everyone could just say what they thought direct to the CEO, just everything completely out in the open. And that was, because I think, you know, to know what kind of, you know, other channels you use, like a big open room with everyone in it, is the only way to like fully have open communication and make people want to speak up. I mean, there's people that won't speak up. But
the thing there though is that you can be as vocal as you want, but if nothing actually gets action,
no, that's the thing.
You'll still be as happy or as unhappy as you were in the first place.
I mean, next slide as well. I mean, this goes on to something that I also notice is happening. I mean, how many people now in the job actually think that this is where they're going to want to stay? How many of you guys are probably working on projects outside here, or maybe working with a friend on a startup or something? Because what's happened is, what I found is the culture has shifted, you know, from, you know, the days when everyone loved their agency to it's like, well, do you know what, I think this is broken, but, you know, me, John and James have a brilliant idea, so we're going to do our own thing.
This is really healthy though, so have a little bit on the side. I would encourage.
Yeah, true. But that was back in the day.
What I would have to
This is today. This is what's happening today. This is what's happening today. People are like, yeah, I'm just in this for, you know, it's just like, yeah, I want that, you know, I want that Zuckerberg money. I'm not serious. You know, it's like, they're thinking, it's like, oh, it's great, this is great, but, you know, me and my friends are going to break big. So if you're thinking like that, when you come to work is just somewhere where you turn up to just do 10 tasks or do whatever you do and go home, because you've got that in mind. You're thinking, you know, I can do this all day, but it's never going to buy me that yacht, or it's never going to buy me, I want to be mortgage free. I mean, like 3 of these things, just because, but also people have run to them because just generally the way that agencies have set up, and we know we are now this whole idea about agile has affected probably the digital advertising space more than anything has ever had, because for the longest time, creatives ran the office. The creative director was like God. He'd stand up and he'd just be out on lunch drinking champagne and lobster and just coming while everyone was doing a few little things. But now it's changed with the rise of UX, and we've got all these other things going on now within the business that people are like, oh, I don't like my CD. I've got, like in the video, I've got 8 people between me and a decision I need to make. And then for me, what happens is, that's when this starts becoming a better option, and then more of your focus goes to the things that you're doing outside work than the things that you should be doing at work. And I think it's healthy to have both of those, but what you tend to find is, it's like, I love what I do, and I can't lie, because I think about it, and I've got mates, and where I come from, when I see them, I don't even tell them what I do. I go, yeah, I'm doing a bit of this, bit of that, because I feel bad, because I'm lucky enough to go to work, and I do something, get paid pretty well, that I actually like doing. I actually like working with people who like doing what they do as well. I worked at a place, and you could probably say it wasn't a Google, it wasn't an attractive place. The pipes sounded like they were haunted. They were all, and most people say it was all dudes, and they were all super nerds. But each one of those guys knew what they were doing, knew their craft better than anyone. But yet they all mingled, and when we got together, when we worked and we did something, it was just like, bloody hell, this is brilliant. I'd go over, my girlfriend would have to listen to stuff she didn't even want to hear about. But it was just something in the fact that they were passionate about what they wanted to do. And I said to them, and they go, oh yeah, I've had crap jobs. Everyone's had crap jobs, but what they've somehow managed to do was realise that every job's a new job. And when you go into there, it's just like, because it's so easy to just come to somewhere and just say, you know what, this place is shit. But, in essence, what are you doing? What are you doing to change the environment? So, this sums it up for me. It's like, what is it? Is it the environment? Is it the people? People will say, oh yeah, it's both of them. But sometimes, you can have the sexy office, and then you go in there, but then the people are off. Or it's not conducive to, to the work you want to do. I mean, people come, we've got a great looking office. People seem okay to me. But if, most of the time. But then if that's the case, shouldn't it just work?
Sorry, but it's always us.
We're the same way. You first.
I was just going to say that, it's great when we have these social things, we all talk, we all have fun, we all get on.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's always the answer, if everyone looks a bit fed up, put some money behind the bar and send us out.
Not enough money, like.
But but we don't do any kind of cross-functional team building at all.
Yeah.
There's just no activities like that which would actually, make it more.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I have no idea what you guys do. I have literally no idea. I have no idea.
So I think there's the one thing that when I arrived at uni, they have timeout sessions, and the idea is to take that from Google. That you get the 10% time, and that was meant to start off as this can be your time to work on something that you want to work on. That's not not part of your daily job, but it's sort of morphed into more of a showcase. So people come in, and sometimes it's a commercial company trying to flog their goods, or sometimes it's a case study or whatever. But that idea, I think, it comes back to the culture, is if you actually assign time for reflection and for thinking about something outside of your daily job, that's where you get really interesting stuff going on. But that's a big core decision, right? Because then you're not going to be signing up, Rolls Royce or some huge account that you're pitching for, because that's going to eat into that 10% time. So that needs to be like a company-wide, everyone in the room, right, are we going to say that out of the 40 hours, 4 of them are going to be put aside to just think about stuff?
Because that valid, again, it's the rewards, right? We are creatures. You reward someone for doing something. They do more.
Yeah.
If you feel.
But there's a balance, right?
Yeah.
You read that book, that Drive by Dan Pink or whatever,
No.
where they know that whatever they call stockbrokers, you pay their performance tails off because it just becomes telephone numbers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you say that you reward them a bit more. It might be time, it might be recognition, it might not be monetary, it might be rewarded in a different sense, and it's about finding, David's sense of reward might be different to mine, and it's about eking that out and then being able to adjust it to every single person in the room, that they've got their own individual rewards and benefits.
I mean, just for an answer, what would some of the rewards would people like to see for their time? If they had a choice, what would it be?
Flexibility. I think flexibility is a huge thing. And that's what I try to do with my team. Give them the flexibility to work when they need to work and sometimes have time off when they need time off. Or work from home occasionally, things like that. It's a small thing, it doesn't cost me anything. But I think it's a big thing for them.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a big thing for me.
Because it's time, right? I mean, as you get older, you have responsibilities, kids or whatever. But just even that, I mean, before this, I was working for still am with this small fashion style. But the days, you could almost see why people would want to do it. Kind of rock up at 11 o'clock, have a coffee, I'm not selling it to you, by the way. This place is great. But you'd have a coffee and sit down. It'd be me and the founder and another guy. We'd have a chat. And he'd be like, I'm going to go to the gym. Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym too. We'd go to the gym. We'd come back. We'd do some work. But the thing was, but in the time when we worked, it's much more productive. And it's almost like, how do you get an agent, and the culture of this, like, just because you're on your seat from 9 till 5, just like in the video, what are you actually doing from 9 till 5?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's a huge benefit that can be given to employees that deserve it or want it. That works for them.
We're a culture of deadlines though, so it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
You can't formalise it. What you can do is say, we are flexible, but if you have to stay late and put in the hours, take that time back when it's convenient. At the moment, we are slaves to paprika, and that's probably one of the biggest problems. The paprika is almost like a lack of trust.
Yeah.
So if we can be sort of a bit more open and a bit more understanding, and some people will take the piss, but then you rope them in.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to go with it.
Should we advise on that now?
See, I mean, these are all the things that kind of it's like when you say culture, if you don't look at those things for me are responsible for the culture that comes out of the agency you're in. And you guys are properly, you feel like, I remember the other day I was trying to put my time in honestly, and I couldn't. Because it's like, well, I didn't actually do that, I did this. But then I felt like, oh, this is oppressive.
You do a long day one day, and then the following day you're here for 7 hours, and paprika won't allow it. Who just says no? You've got to do 8 hours.
Well, that's the thing. There was a huge study. I forget what it was. It was done by somebody like Oracle or Microsoft, and it's because in IT you have massive amounts of work which is done for free.
Yeah.
So Linux is about 5 times the size of Windows. Has billions of lines of code, and very few people are actually paid to write that, and it's considered much higher quality than anything Apple or Microsoft in terms of the quality of the code itself. And there was a massive study done, and they did the relationship between reward and productivity, and it was an inverse relationship. The higher you got paid, the less productive you were, and the quality of the work that you did went down if you did more, if you had to do more of it.
That's the Dan Pink thing. If you Google the surprising psychology of reward with Dan Pink, there's a really nice RSA talk. There's like 10 minutes or something. When they found, but it's intellectual effort. People do physical work, the more you pay them, the harder they work. But if you're doing intellectual effort, anything to do with intellectual effort, your productivity actually does go down if you're incentivized with money,
That's
basically.
what happened to Rocky in Rocky 3.
There's lots of individuals in that I see, maybe just in the dev team or wherever, that have this attitude. But overall, as an agency, it's more about production, getting work done, and that's not emphasised. And there's a balance somewhere, but I feel that even though we have individuals that are like that, and they want to do the best thing, they want to be the best that they can, and do things in the best way possible. Overall, there's not a need for that or a want for that globally.
Individualism is just not.
I have the opposite problem in UX, which is that I seem to design things, and then by the time they get built, they're nothing like what I started with. The quality just seems to go down the more hands they go through until eventually there's nothing that I'll put in my portfolio left.
That's exactly what I mean. You'll try and do something in the best way possible, make it, really, open out of the box, open-minded, flexible, and then it won't carry on.
So how do you think these things then affect the culture of where you work then? Or affect?
You're just not. It's not an incentive for you to put effort into your work. If when you do put effort into your work, it's not utilised. If that makes sense. This is just me. It's just my opinion, and it might just be how I see it.
I think diversity as well, because I mean, as a project manager, the way things work here with the brief or finance is all very much, delivery, and we feel like we're making other people do that, and it's not really necessarily how we want to work. I'd much rather be more fluid and have a less kind of linear approach to things. But it's just the way that the culture is, like you say. That's the way that the company is structured to work financially. So that leaves even in an agile environment, it's always.
I suppose the serious thing for me is that if the culture, if this is indicative of the culture in the industry we're in right now, then we're probably fucked and we'll be out of jobs pretty soon, and we'll just take our miserable selves to the next place. Do you see what I mean? That's essentially where we're at. I've only been here 3 months, and I'm happy to take all this and try and, do something. But I just feel like for me, it's easier to sit there and whinge about it. And when you're with your design mates or you're with your mates, and then you whinge about it. It's like, how much of it are you actually doing while you're here? Who are you saying this to? Who's responsible for making sure that this stuff gets to the right people? Because at the end of the day, the group wants to make money. For me, it's just like the only way to make money is to have happy people wanting to do good work. Because otherwise, then the culture affects retention. In the time I've been there,
That's on leads every week.
That's one of the sort of forward-thinking companies I was reading about. They're one of their targets is not increased revenue, increased whatever salaries and all of that. It's retention.
Yeah.
Because as all of us know, like recruiting people is a massive ball ache. It takes days, weeks, months, years. And people leaving, you invest all that time and effort, training them up, getting them ready and everything else, and then not having the time to let them reflect and understand that this is a good place to work and the grass isn't necessarily greener, and a lot of people leave. And we've had people leaving and they're leaving their exit interviews sort of saying, well, I'm getting $5,000 more, going down the road. And you're like, really? Is that it? You never asked for a pay rise. Why didn't you ask for a pay rise? And then, that's the whole thing. It's like, if you don't have these sessions, if you don't have some sort of conduit or something where people can communicate open and honestly, people leave, and that will cost the company thousands, tens.
It probably
of thousands.
is, and I think and this conversation, if this was somewhere where the overlords, as it would be, could see this, and if they weren't worried, then you'd think like, well, then you almost advocating for, I don't want to be here because they're not cultivating, they're not putting anything into me, and how do you sustain that? Because I don't know, this has to go somewhere. I'm happy to, my first week I was here, I started writing stuff down. Like Anne Frank, I was just it's just like, but the thing is, I see people, good people, who want to do good work, but then obviously, then you hear things, and then you see things, and you hear things, And I don't think it's that no one's against anyone doing good work, but like I said, it's like, oh, this is process, this is what we have to do, and this is where we have to do it. But then it doesn't allow people to kind of want to, you know, I'm a peacock, let me fly, you know, and we don't.
But it comes back to what Alison and Will were saying, that we had this session in the summer, and
Yeah,
nothing's changed.
So
Even if it wasn't the session that Ralph actually meant it to be. I mean, it's still, you know, still something came with it in terms of knowing.
But then you look at the slide, you know, this guy went nuts because he wanted, you know, he just wanted to go home. So it's just like, where do you stop? Where don't you keep pushing? So you had that in summer and nothing's happened. What's the next step? What do we do?
I think it's those making those little changes, like even the social stuff we're trying to work towards, and actually rebuilding a culture. People might see it differently, I think, but I think fundamentally smaller changes we can't necessarily, because from my experience there seems to be a lot of red tape, and it's actually getting people together and like-minded people. And I think the workshop was good, even though it wasn't quite the output that we first expected, I suppose, or we hoped for. That actually it's not down to, you're not going crazy. It's actually there seems to be a common kind of understanding of where we are and who we are. Because a lot of the kind of the dark matter I think we spoke about, there was a lot of people saying exactly the same things.
I think if people started being a little bit more guerrilla, I mean, for instance, my main focus is new business from a creative point, but with Daniel, in the short time I've been there, I realised we've had to kind of go off piste, totally off piste. But then we just report in, oh yeah, that's doing, you know, because if we try and stick to the rules don't allow you to kind of get traction. So it's knowing when to kind of say, this is for, I mean, for me, it's for the better of the company. I want us to get good clients and do good work, and then to be excited about it. So this is like, well, I'm like, well, I'll bugger this. Let's just go off and do this, and we'd be sneakily doing it outside hours, or because I even ask, so I'll do it after work. Oh, you can't do that after work because you can't bill for it. It's like, yeah, no, it's on my own time. I'm happy to do that. It's like, oh, you can't do that. And then I was kind of like, oh, I don't understand.
I think sometimes you have to do it like that, because I know that, I mean, historically from what I hear and what I see, you know, anybody that comes in tries to change things, you know, kind of all revs up and then
I'll probably
it goes
go
back.
next week.
You say 3 months, so they had your probation.
And Frank Howard.
Yes.
So I mean, Ralph came in and made a lot of changes, and we brought in the whole agile thing, and you know, it was disruptive, and that was required to be disruptive to make things change, but that kind of needs to continue.
Well, yeah, it has to, because for me, I think agencies like this in a couple of years, maybe probably even sooner, won't exist anymore if they don't change their model quickly. Because brands are smarter, you know, clients are smarter.
They're doing it project by project.
Yeah.
They're not going to have you on a retainer.
Nah, BAU, and who wants to do BAU? Who wants to sit there? You know, that's what I was saying to you the other day. I was just like, you like trained chimps. They're like, just knocking out gifts. No one would want that to be their day. No one would want that. And we do it, and we have to do it. But it's like, and for a business, it doesn't make sense. I don't know, you know, and the thing, I think we have to own it. I think we have to own it ourselves to try and, each of us, have an idea of what we would like would want work to be for them. And I think if we're all trying to do that little bit to make work be what it was, then eventually it's got to come through, right? Because that's for me, it's like you can just say it in this room, but then when we go out of there, it's like, well, what are we going to do? It's like, you know what, let's invite those guys for a drink, because I'm happy to go drink with anyone. You know, but
Crowdsourcing.
yeah.
Right, that's it.
Okay, so you all want to change, and all will do awesome providing and etc. But you know what the showstoppers actually are. So we know we want to change, we know how we want to change, but we don't change.
Well, one of the things, so it seems that obviously that one of the problems we have is that the overlords don't know. So they probably think business as usual is running fine. So they're not.
I mean, they do know, because that thing that we did back last year, they said, oh, we'll make a big report for you, and you can share it in your company, and it was never shared.
Did they see it?
Well, I think the output of that quantum of solace or whatever was actually put into it was put into an A5 binded document, which was just left on the wayside. So that's one of the things that I saw was just
So
a small little book.
what would you suggest? I mean, just off the top of
I'm just suggesting identifying those showstoppers from change. Like, I don't know, maybe Africa is one, maybe a client approach is another one, and then try to address those. Because if we want to identify those and address those, we're never going to change.
No, definitely.
No, definitely.
But I'm not sure if we're all aware and kind of like know where the obstacles are.
I mean, you're like me, you're a newbie as well.
Yeah, I know. But
I mean,
this is what I'm hearing from this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and what do you think about so far? Are you finding are you coming across anything? Are you thinking? That's what I want. I think if we're not honest as an agency and we don't talk, we should be able to laugh, fight, and talk seriously with each other. So at the end of the day, you spend 8 hours a day or maybe longer in this place, and you do it everywhere. And I just feel that if we, I don't know, maybe I'm a dreamer, but I just feel like we have to do, and I think it's an onus on all of us to try and, whatever we do when we come in the door to say hello to someone you don't know, to nod and smile. Or, so, it sounds cheesy, but I just think we all have to do something. Because otherwise, I just think, I don't want to have to, start interviewing and doing all that stuff again. Because that's eventually what will happen. And that's what happens. People just think, oh, I'm going to jack this in and I'm going to go to the next place. I like the location. It's easy to get to. I can get home. I can drive safely. There's a lot of factors about this place. But it's just like, so rather than just taking that and going, it's like, what do we do? Because, this guy burnt and flapped you down. He had enough.
I guess there needs to be a decision for everybody. Do they want to go the extra mile? And it will take some effort to change things, maybe above and beyond.
But who's willing to do that? Show of hands.
Who wants to do that? Or who was happy just coming, doing 8 hours and drifting?
I hold my hand. I'm happy to go the extra mile to do something. It's just me.
If it's internal projects, it's actually stepping outside the studio before, not being like workstation. It's always it's just monetary. That's all the focus is. It's just like we wanted it 2 days ago. We want it now. We want it. And it's just that constant.
It's not just it's not just about doing the extra mile on the project that you're working on.
No,
it's about doing other things as well.
Yes.
I've been sort of lucky enough to be, or unfortunate enough to be stuck on trains with Mark, our MD. And when you start throwing ideas at him and saying, do you know what, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, he's so open to it. He says, yes, get on with it. Just tell me how much it's going to cost and then get on with it. There is that sort of fear that you've got ideas, that you've got to go to some overlord in the sky. I mean, there is only one bloke we're really dealing with. And he is up for making this the sort of place where people want to be and where clients are excited to walk into the building. So if you have ideas, don't always wait for somebody else to sign it off. Just start doing it. If you're doing your underground new business type actions, okay, you're going to have to do it underground because you've got to get round the billing, that side of things. But once it gets noticed and people say, do you know what, that's working, that's good, well done, let's make it formal. You've done it, then move on to the next thing. But it could be something that we do socially, it could be something that we do as a new work practice. Just get on and do it. Really. If it's bad, people will stop you. If it's not, people will applaud you.
But that's why you need to set the environment to let that nurture, right? So it is about saying, okay, we're going to take those 4 hours and we're going to give you those 4 hours to come up with whatever you want. And some of them will be terrible ideas, and some of them will be awesome. You have to nurture that culture, because if you say just get on with it within your timetable, everyone's like, I'm way too busy. Do you know what I mean? So that you can't expect more people to go the extra mile within the same constraints that they're under at the moment, because I just don't think that will happen. That's what happened at Unique. So that's why we've got some guru coming in to talk about culture. We're doing all of these bits of software that are helping with the communication, and we're trying to set aside time.
Is it working? Do you feel
we're getting there's pigeon steps. It's moving. At least there's the needle and it's moving. But it needs to be across the board. So it should be everyone in this room having this conversation.
Yeah.
Or else it just, as you said, you step out of the room and you're back at it, you know?
Yeah.
And unless you've got that time set aside, it becomes so bloody hard. Like, how am I going to find 4 hours in this week? You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to leave, I've got 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. And that's the last slide. From me. Goodbye. No, thank you. No, it's been awesome. I just wanted, I mean, it was, sorry I didn't want to show, I just wanted to, and I think it's good to have a rant, and I just reckon someone else should just book this out and talk about it, and then just keep talking about stuff. And then this is, for me, this is fun. This has probably been one of the highlights of the week, because I'm talking to people I've not had a chance to talk to, and I just think that the more and more we try and each of us do stuff, if we want this to be a cool place to work, I think we have to make it a cool place to
as
work.
well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the enthusiasm and like wanting to do something.
Well, we need to make it a place that good people want to come to and work as well, because otherwise, you know, it's like if we want to do good work, we need good people.
Is this not deja vu of that previous?
See, and that's it. 'Cause you had that before, right?
I've been studying business psychology on the side as well for that very reason, because I want to make things a better place to work and more fun to actually make people want to deliver quality.
Even though you're doing that, why don't you tell us? We should do it. We should. Yeah.
She's, Alex's got a very own dark chocolate club.
Yeah,
Nobody knew
I
that.
did have, but Marine left.
Oh.
So I was in there. So just me now.
Just think of the chocolate by yourself. Cool. No, thank you for coming in, everyone. Yeah, no, that's me. Thank you very much.